Welcome to My Application Coach. Many thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. Miriam Parker, here to serve as a guide during your quest for residency and fellowship positions in the U.S. With 25 years of experience as an internal medicine program director and credentials as a certified interview coach, I'm dedicated to sharing crucial insights to help you as an IMG secure a successful match. Let's get started, shall we? Today we're going to talk about the rank order list. First, some housekeeping. The objectives today are how to approach the rank order list, certifying the rank order list, some key deadlines that you have to be aware of, ranking considerations that I think are important for every applicant, and then my thoughts about programs' potential consideration in the ranking process. First things first, it's important to understand that the NRMP matching algorithm will attempt to place you in your most preferred program possible. So you should rank programs in the order of your preference and not be influenced by where you think you might match. This is something that every year creates misunderstanding amongst applicants. You can go for your REACH program and your specialty, and you should. You can also order programs from various specialties any way that you would like if you are applying to more than one specialty. I would caution you by saying that no matter how favorable your interview seemed at a particular program, do not rely on matching into any one program. There are simply too many variables. If you have interviewed at multiple programs, I would encourage you to rank only those programs where you are both able and would be happy to train. Recognize that putting a program on your rank order list creates a binding commitment if a match occurs. It's pretty common sense, but I'll say it. Don't rank programs where you did not interview. Programs will not rank candidates that they have not interviewed. And remember that even if you've only interviewed at one program and you'd like to match at that program, you still must enter a rank order list. Yes, a rank order list of one program. Finally, and maybe most importantly, don't wait until the last minute to enter your rank order list into the NRMP, the ARIS R3 system. Their servers can get overloaded and working slowly at the last minute, and you want to make sure you're certified. As you go through the process, before you've started the ranking, your applicant status will say active. While you are ranking, it will say ranking in red. And then once you're certified, it will change to certified in green. So it will be very clear to you if you are ranking or when you are certified. What are the deadlines? So the two deadlines that you need to know about is the first, February 1st this year, which is the date that ranking opens and one can begin to build a rank order list. And then February 28th, which is the rank order list certification deadline for applicants at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It also happens to be the late registration for SOAP. I would, however, encourage you, again, not to wait to the last day. Get your ranking done well in advance and see that green certification on the system. Okay, let's move to considerations that I think are important in the rank order list. First and foremost would be program quality. You would like to assess whether or not the program director and the faculty seem committed to the residency training program, whether there are sufficient core faculty and subspecialty faculty that can give you the breadth of training that you deserve. You can look at overall academic commitment by the types of conferences that the residency program provides: core conferences, specialty conferences, board review for surgical programs for sure, M&M, journal clubs, and also I think consideration of what is available to you for simulation training. Obviously, large programs that have huge simulation labs may not be the same may not be present in a small community program, but you still want to ensure that you have access to some simulation training. You should consider the pathology of the given program and the patient care volumes. You want to make sure that you will have sufficient patients and patients with sufficient and interesting pathology so that you can learn. Lastly, I would say hospital quality is something that you can look at. There are two ways to do this. One is hospital compare, and this is CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It's called the CMS star rating, and there is 1 to 5, so you can have 1 star to 5 stars, and it gives you two ratings: an overall rating of the hospital, and then also a rating of the patient experience. It does give you some sense about the quality in general of the hospital, but I would caution you not to make too much of a difference between, a hospital, let's say, that has a 3-star rating and a 4-star rating. Clearly, however, there are differences with a hospital that has a 1-star rating and a hospital that has a 4 or 5-star rating. The other place that you can go for hospital quality, which is actually a safety grade at that hospital, is the Leapfrog group. And you can see here, it's www.hospitalsafetygrade.org, where you could find out that information. The next considerations are having to do with program culture and the commitment of the residency program to your well-being. These are aspects of the program which are really very important and are typically best assessed by speaking with residents at the program. If there's someone you know at the program and have insider information, that may be the best source for you in terms of the program culture and the well-being of the residents. You also may want to spend some time trying to ascertain the resident mix. Sometimes they give you on their website a list of residents so that you can sort of get a sense of where they might be from and whether or not, there's a mix of residents at the program. Program fit for you is something that is very individual. And clearly, if you are married, are in a partnership, have a family, is, I believe, very important that everybody is considered in this, since you're going to be going to a training program for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, perhaps more. The first obvious consideration is urban versus rural versus suburban. And there are obviously benefits to all of these types of communities, and there are disadvantages as well. You might want to look at your housing options and the cost of living. While resident salaries may be higher in certain parts of the country, so too are the housing costs. And so even with a salary that looks like it's significantly different in one part of the country than the other, the area of the country with a lower resident salary may indeed have a much better cost of living. You would want to consider potentially safety issues and transportation concerns. Well, what do I mean by this? Many programs that are, suburban and rural are certainly going to require that you drive. So you need to understand that even if you don't typically drive in your country, that would be a requirement, so that you would need to know how to drive and have a car. I also would point out safety issues, because sometimes people feel that they would like to live around where the hospital is located, but there may be especially urban hospital locations that aren't particularly safe areas, and therefore, even though it would seem that apartments are available around the hospital, that may not be a preferable area for you as a resident to live. These things are typically ones that the program coordinator or other residents can help you understand. The school system, especially if you have children that are of school age, becomes important as to where you might live and what the schools are like in that area. Religious and cultural issues are such that you are things that you really have to answer on your own. There are parts of this country where you would not necessarily expect, let's say, to find a temple or a mosque or a synagogue. And so understanding what your needs are in terms of certain religious communities and certain cultural communities are important. Climate. I mention this because obviously we have varied climates in this country, and there are parts of this country that have a great deal of snow during much of the year. So if you're not someone who loves the snow, if you're not someone who drives, don't feel comfortable in the snow, you might not want to rank those programs at the top of your list. The demographics of the population. So there are parts of this country where we have had an influx of different immigrants, and for instance, areas where Spanish is the predominant language. If you don't speak Spanish, although there will be interpreters and there will be ways in which you can communicate, this may also be something that you would want to consider when you are thinking about your rank order list. Finally, considerations that really have to do with overall quality and scholarship. So the type of scholarship and research that comes out of the program is important, especially if you're someone who is considering fellowship. So are the residents publishing any kind of papers or do they go to abstract competitions? Is there a research institute, or what are the mechanisms at this particular residency program to assist you with research projects? Opportunities for away rotations I've listed because particularly if you're interested in fellowships and if you're looking at hospitals that are community hospitals and are not affiliated with a university hospital, you are probably going to need to do at least one rotation outside of your community hospital to help get letters for fellowship. So it would be important for you to know if that is available to you. Graduate placements and fellowships can tell you a lot about the program, at least if they have residents there who are going on to fellowships, especially competitive fellowships. I would see that as a very positive sign, especially if that is what you're interested in. And finally, board pass rates. There has been a lot of information about board pass rates, some of which is on the internet and some which is not, and that you have to rely upon the individual programs to tell you what their board pass rates are. Some pass rates are given in 3-year rolling pass rates, 5-year rolling pass rates, or year-to-year pass rates. So just be aware that pass rates can be presented in different ways, especially in specialties like the surgical specialties where there's typically an oral exam, and then sometime later, after individuals have already graduated, they actually take their oral exams. Finally, I promised you that I would talk a little bit about ranking applicants and what may matter to program directors. We don't have that much information about this in a real, in a real organized fashion, but this is a 2020 NRMP program director survey. It's the only survey of recently that we have that asked program directors what was important to them when they started to rank applicants, not interview applicants, but rank applicants. And you can see on this slide that they looked at the percent that cited a given factor and then the average rating from 1 to 5 of any given factor. So if you look at this, you can see that interpersonal skills, interactions with faculty, interactions with house staff, feedback from residents, and your letters of recommendation in the specialty that you were applying all were really important in terms of program directors. Additionally, I would tell you that even though only 63% cited that factor, professionalism and ethics had an average rating of 4.7 as well. So most of the specialties are really quite closely aligned on this, and I'm going to show you this in the next slide. Here I took the number one cited factor for ranking decisions and the number two cited factor for multiple different specialties. I think that you can see that in almost every specialty, the number one and the number two cited factors for ranking decisions had to do with interpersonal skills, interactions with faculty or house staff, or feedback from residents. So these items were very important and clearly really revolve around interview skills. Lastly, I'd like to take you on a little tour, so to speak, of interview and post-interview influences. To some extent, to have you understand that there's many things that go into this, and so it's really impossible for you to really understand everything that goes into decision making. So if we look at this briefly, we can see that interviews with the PD, with the APD, with the faculty, clearly those are can strongly potentially influence your ranking. The interactions with residents, we already saw interaction with residents, house staff, feedback from residents, all very important. Your overall likability, which typically is something that is ascertained in an interview, which really looks at your engagement, your positivity, your professionalism, your reliability or perceived reliability. These are things that make up your likability. Program director and committee preferences when they're weighing applicants, and every program director and committee may have some differences in that regard. Your current geographic location and presence of local support. So some programs really feel that if they recruit residents from their geographic location that the program is in, those individuals may be more likely to stay in that state and practice in that state. And as you probably know, many areas of our country have physician shortages. So there is something to be said for coming from that location, although programs do want diversity. So again, it may help you to be from a given area, but doesn't exclude you. Additionally, the presence of local support, and that is to say that programs, I think, often feel comfortable when they know that someone who's coming to their program may have some support structure that already exists in that environment or close to the residency program. Thank you letters and letters of intent. I won't really speak much about these because these are pretty controversial. As you know, some programs really significantly frown upon them and do not want any of these kinds of interactions post-interview. But suffice it to say that letters of intent and thank you letters may influence at least some programs. On-site return visits, programs are told that these should not affect their rankings, although I think, again, it's not clear that that would definitely be the case. Small programs where individuals come back and come for visits and are sort of become known entities by the program, this certainly may affect ranking both to the positive and the negative. Contacts that you have at the program, you have a resident that's at the program, you think that's going to help you. Maybe that resident is underperforming at the program, it may not help you. Maybe that's the favorite resident of the program director, that may help you. You just don't know. Same can be said for faculty or other individuals who speak on your behalf to the program director or other individuals involved in the evaluation or the ranking committee. Your spoken language skills and general communication skills is very important. Other valued attributes that you might bring with you to the program. And again, you could have been the captain of some sports team and that would be appealing to the program director for various reasons. You have specific language skills that are valuable to the program. It's another value proposition that you bring to the program that could be almost anything. We know that geographic signaling and program signaling both make a significant difference in terms of inviting people for interviews. We don't know yet how those things really affect being in the ranking process. And then finally, the visa. If your visa status changes, obviously, or is tenuous, that obviously could affect your ranking status. Some programs won't rank anybody if they're not ECFMG certified, even if they know that they will, that will happen before the time that they need to join the program. So your ECFMG status or your visa status could obviously influence things. And then I've left a series of question marks there because I think there are other factors which could definitely play a role. But these are my thoughts, just to give you a sense that there's many, many things that are now in the past that may have influenced the programs in terms of their ranking. So some final considerations. Recognize that your knowledge about a program is always going to be limited. You're never going to know everything that you would like to know. And so you're sort of making a best guess in terms of your rank order list. You're going to try to craft the best rank order list that you can. And most people have some kind of a strategy, remembering that sometimes it's a strategy that involves more than you. It involves you and your families. I would point out here that there's actually a lot of information on the NRMP and the ARIS websites about rank order list creation, certification, in terms of the mechanics of things. So if you're someone who has some difficulty sometimes with computers, you can look through their PDFs, look through their videos. They're excellent, and take things one step at a time so that you should be able to get through this process without any difficulty. Please finalize and certify your rank list before the deadline. And then when you're done, please congratulate yourself for the hard work that you've done to date. Whether or not you've had one interview, whether or not you've had more than 10 interviews, this is a really hard process. And I would encourage you to be kind to yourself, congratulate yourself, and then put everything aside. Finally, I think it's important just to remember that life is filled with difficult decisions, and the winners are those who make them. And so making your rank order list is a decision, and you have one because you've gotten this far at this point in time. Thank you. Thanks for joining me today. My goal at My Application Coach is to deliver meaningful content in bite-sized segments. I'd be honored if you'd hit the button below to subscribe to my YouTube channel and graciously provide your comments. I also invite you to check out my website, imgspecialist.com, where I offer personalized services assisting serious applicants with mock interviews, ARIS and personal statement review, and much more. Thank you.